You are listening to the Novel Writing Podcast, episode 161. I'm your host, Colleen Mitchell. Grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. Today's episode is the last 5 of 10 productivity tips for writers that I have both used myself and have seen used successfully by the authors that I work with in our coaching and critique group. These tips are in no particular order, and they're not all inclusive, so if there's a particular tip that works well for you that isn't on this list, we would love to hear about it. So let's finish these up. Number 6 is to measure and track your writing metrics over time. Examples include word count per session, total words written on a project, chapters or scenes completed in relation to structural beats, time spent writing, writing streaks both daily or weekly, and number of writing sessions per week. So why this works. What gets measured gets managed, and if you can't track it, you can't improve it. The only way to know that you're getting better at something is to keep track of your progress along the way. In weight loss terms, this is taking progress pictures, tracking your food intake and weight over time, and associated things like mood and external circumstances. We can use the same approach with writing. If you're data-driven like me, then this kind of productivity tip will light your progress on fire. Pro tip for those of you using Scrivener, it will automatically keep track of your project stats every day that you work in a project. It'll track your words in draft and elsewhere, which is determined by the binder location of the files that you're writing in, your total writing days, average words written per day, and a few other neat little metrics. So if you've never seen this before, check it out in the project menu and then writing history. Whatever way to track that works best for you is the right way to do it. And if you're new to tracking this data, start small with something easy to track, which could be words per session and how long each session is. That will give you a great place to start with your writing speed. Over time, you can add other metrics to track and improve from there. Number 7, break big writing goals into smaller chunks. Why this works. Our brains get really overwhelmed when we look at a big goal like write 50,000 words, or write the second draft, or even write chapter 12. Usually that goal is too big to complete in a single session, and so our brains use that excuse as a reason to not even start. And this happens to all of us. The way to combat it is to shrink the goal. Instead of focusing on writing an entire book, break it into chapters, then scenes, and you can even go smaller to paragraphs and even sentences if larger chunks intimidate you. When you start accomplishing the little chunks, that momentum builds over time until you actually finish the bigger goal. Number 8, use placeholders and comment functions for words, descriptions, names, etc., things that you can't think of in the moment so you can come back to them later. Why this works. I can't keep track of how many times my authors tell me they're stuck because they can't decide on a name, or they don't want to write out of order, or they have some backstory thing they need to figure out, or they can't figure out how to write a transition, or they aren't great at descriptive narrative, and on and on. There's endless examples. We all get stuck with these things, but the difference between moving forward versus spending months stuck is using placeholders and comments. I'm rewriting book 3 right now, and I introduced a new artifact that I'm literally calling, in all caps, name bow, like archery, a bow. Name bow. Because I haven't figured out what its actual name is. This is a placeholder. Knowing its name is not important to the rewrite right now, just getting it included is what matters. So I'm using a placeholder and then highlighting each instance of that placeholder so I don't miss them when I come back. Using placeholders and comments frees your brain from the perceived need to make it perfect immediately, or to do all of those edits right now, and instead lets you focus on writing the rest of the story. You can work out the little details in rewrites and editing. Number 9, if it's feasible for your situation, silence your phone and put it in a drawer out of sight. This is just one method to combat distractions, but another like it is using blocking software like Cold Turkey Writer to lock out your entire computer until meeting a word count or a time goal. Why this works. If it's in your visual field, phones will still capitalize on your attention, even if they're turned off, even if they're face down, and even if they're silenced. The very existence of the phone in your peripheral vision means that a portion of your brain is wondering if you're missing literally any notifications. Putting it in a drawer, which is out of sight, out of mind, will cut off that visual cue, letting your brain fully focus on the thing that you're trying to focus on. Similarly, when using blocking software, you can effectively eliminate the desire to go down a research rabbit hole or check Facebook one more time when you really should be writing. And number 10, don't get bogged down with improvement editing when you're still in the first draft phase. Why this works. Getting the first draft done is an important goal for every single writer, but even more so when you're first starting out. I like the concept of the first draft being a fast and messy draft because that gives me material to work with during rewrites. Rewrites happen to be my favorite part of the entire process, so this works out pretty well for me. When we get sucked into the trap of improvement editing while still in the first draft, we run the risk of never ever making it to the end. This includes things like constantly rewriting your first chapter. You're probably going to change it again in the second to last draft anyway. Trying to perfect each act before moving on to the next one, and obsessing over balancing POVs if you have multiple. Improvement editing in the first unfinished draft makes it far more likely that you will never write the words at the end, or if you do, it's years later than you originally wanted to. All of these things can be fixed in later drafts. For me, and this is also how we teach it in the 60-day novel writing challenge, first drafts are easier and faster when I outline them first. That makes it a lot easier to bang out a first draft in a shorter period of time because I have a basic structure and ideas to draw on when writing. Having an outline doesn't mean you know 100% of what you're going to write, because stories will evolve as you write them, and sometimes outlines will make hairpin left turns when you don't expect them to. But having the outline to begin with means I'm far less likely to worry about improvement editing while writing the first draft. And for those of you who are worried, outline does not mean a huge bullet point-by-point list of things that happen in the book. An outline can be as simple as what's in the beginning, what's in the middle, what's in the end. Start as simply as possible. Now, this wraps up our 10 productivity tips for writers. I hope this has been helpful for you. And if you'd like to learn more about the 60-day novel writing challenge and our coaching and critique group, where we implement a lot of these productivity tips, then check out the links in the description. That is it for today's episode. Thanks for joining me, and remember, the first draft is supposed to be garbage. Thanks for listening to the Novel Writing Podcast. If you're ready to stop struggling and start finishing your novel, check out the 60-day novel writing challenge. It's a step-by-step program designed for solo writers to complete their first draft with clarity and focus. Visit the link in the description to learn more.